as per this ayat, God starts with saying that, and we have enjoined, which means that we have made it a confirmed commandment. It's like we have made it a fard upon men to his parents, ihsan. Now, if we look at ihsan, Quran has used the word ihsan in multiple meanings. The root word of ihsan is husn. It means to something that looks good, like look pleasant to your eyes and other faculties. It's pleasant to your spirit or your soul. It also is used in the meaning of fasad. So fasad means to create imbalance, to create disbalance and destruction. So as an opposite of fasad, ihsan means to create balance, to fill the void or lack for anyone or anything. And it also means to give something or do something for someone as inam, which means that without any expectation of any return whatsoever. And it also means as something which is excellent, which is best. It's basically a step up of adal. So adal basically means that whatever your due right is, you take that due right, and whatever your responsibility is or somebody else's due right, you give to that person that due right. As a step of adal, ihsan means to take less as your own due right and to give more to someone as his or her due right. So ihsan is used in all of these meanings, which means that it is to do something which is pleasant to somebody as their whole being, to do something for someone as a gift, as an inam, without any expectation of any return whatsoever. And it also means to compensate someone for their lack of their abilities or anything that is a void in themselves. And it also means to do something for someone which is above and more than their due rights towards you, and take less from that person what is your own due right. So God says that we have enjoined upon men to his parents ihsan. That means that to our parents God has confirmed as a confirmed commandment, as a fard, as an enjoined upon men, the behavior should be ihsan. And why is that so? The reason is mentioned. His mothers carried him with hardship and gave birth to him with hardship, and his gestation and weaning is 30 months, which means that when the mother is carrying him in terms of her pregnancy, that is a period of hardship. And although only the mother is mentioned, the father is present in order to enable the whole process. The father is there as a support, as a part of the whole institution of parents, of marriage, to take care of the child right from the pregnancy through the gestation and the weaning and the reaching of the maturity. And when he reaches maturity and reaches 40 years, he says, my Lord, enable me to be grateful for your nemat which you have bestowed upon me. The word used here is nemat. So in Quran, nemat has been used in multiple meanings. It means the safety and security from lawlessness, destruction, pain, suffering. It's a shield, it's a protection. It also means uh, um, blessings in many ways, in terms of prosperity, and prosperity, not success and prosperity, not just pertaining to wealth and financial, but success and prosperity related to each and every aspect of your life. So parents has been bestowed as a nemat on us, and nemat in terms of all of its meaning. It means in terms of the safety and security from and shield from everything which is negative, from lawlessness and destruction and pain and suffering. It also means as a success and prosperity, and also means in old medieval Arab, when people used to place something at the top of a mountain or a tree, that thing used to be called nemat. So it means in the form of a benchmark or a role model or a height. So in terms of the parents, they have been bestowed as nemat for us in all its meanings. In another ayah, God says, and lower to them the wing of humility out of Rahim. and say, my Lord, have rahm upon them as they brought me up when small. So basically, parents have brought us up in the form of rahm, because we all know when a newborn is born, a newborn human being is born, he or she does not know anything. It's so vulnerable. It's this institution of marriage, it's this parents who take care of that newborn right from the birth up until the state of majority through Rahm. And we have already discussed Rahm in our last session. Rahm has been derived from the word Rahma, which is a mother's womb during pregnancy. So Rahm has all those meanings, which Rahma is for a child. It's a protection, it's a shield, it's a lifeline, it's a security, it's a source of miracle-like growth and development, it's a source of selfless love and sacrifice. So parents brought us up with Rahm, and therefore God says to us when we are mature and old, to lower to our parents the wings of humility out of Rahm, and pray to God that have Rahm upon them as they have brought me up with Rahm when I was small. So it's just like that they have brought us up when we were small through Rahm. When we are grown up, we need to extend the wings of humility out of Rahm towards our parents. In another ayah, God says, and your Lord has decreed that you not worship except him, and to parents do ihsan. Have you noticed how the two things have been aligned together? That God has said, do not worship anyone but Allah, which means that doing shirk has been, not to do shirk has been termed as an order. Similarly, to do ihsan with parents is an order, and both of these are aligned together. It's that important. Whether one or both of them reach old age with you, say not to them uff. That you cannot even say as much as uff to them. And do not repel them, but speak to them a noble word. Speak to them words of kindness, and your behavior towards them should be best of the best, as ihsan, as a step up of adl, as gift, as inam, without any expectation whatsoever, as a way of compensating for their lack in their abilities or any void that that is there in their lives, and as doing something which is pleasant for them as their whole being. So your behavior towards them should be ihsan. And then God says, come, I will recite with your Lord has prohibited to you. So now God is telling us about all things that are prohibited, that not you associate anything with him. Again, God is talking about shirk. And to parents do ihsan. Now imagine, not to do ihsan with parents is termed as prohibited by Quran, and is aligned with doing the same thing as doing shirk, as assigning partners with Allah. It is that big a crime in the eyes of Quran, in the eyes of God Almighty, not to do ihsan with parents, because not to do ihsan with parents has been termed as prohibited. And at the end of this ayah, God says, this has he instructed you that you may use reason. Yaqilun, which means use reason. Why God is saying not to do ihsan with parents, and it's termed as that big a prohibition as doing shirk. And then God says, and we have enjoined upon men ihsan to parents. But if they endeavor to make you associate with me that of which you have no knowledge, do not obey them. This is the only exclusion where God is saying, do ihsan with your parents, but do not obey them. Under what situation? When they associate anything with Allah. And what does it mean, associating anything with God Almighty? It means associating anything with deen, of which you do not have knowledge. So, if they associate anything with Allah, anything with God Almighty, or anything with deen, do not obey them for which you do not have knowledge. So for instance, if they associate anything telling you that this is a part of the deen, you complete your knowledge. It is your responsibility to complete your knowledge. Look in the deen. If that association with deen is correct or not. If it is correct, follow them. If it is not correct, if you do not have knowledge, if you have not completed your knowledge in terms of whatever is being associated with Allah, with Deen, then you cannot follow even your parents, to whom you have been instructed to do only ihsan. So this is the only exclusion where God is saying, do not obey them. Now, when I was discussing one of the relatives approached me and he said to me that the realization that to parents do ihsan is that important, and not to do ihsan with parent is actually prohibited. I didn't know that. And I had, although my behavior with my parents had not been bad, but it was not the best of the best. It was not ihsan, and I have realized it only now when we were discussing this, and now it's too late because both of them have died and I do not have any ways and means of seeking forgiveness for my behavior or amending my behavior. So my response to him was that it is a very ideal situation that if your parents are alive right now and you have come to know that not to do ihsan is one of the prohibitions as per Quran, then you can amend your behavior. You can seek forgiveness from them and amend your behaviors towards them so that you are avoiding that grave a sin. But God forbid, if both of your parents or one of the parents with whom your behavior has not been ihsan has died, you can no longer seek forgiveness of your sin from your parents. So the solution is not to seek forgiveness from God Almighty, because He cannot forgive you for the sins that you have committed against your parents or against any individual whatsoever. To seek forgiveness is only from that individual. But now that if that individual is not alive anymore, what is the best solution? The best solution, I would refer to you this ayat. We will establish the scale of justice on the day of resurrection. No soul will suffer the least injustice. Even the equivalent of a mustard seed will be accounted for. We are the most efficient reckoners. In another ayah, God says that day the people will depart separated to be shown their deeds. So whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it, and whoever does an atom's weight of evil will see it. Which means that for that relative of mine, his weight on the bad deed side, on the left hand side, must have been more than the good deeds, because he unintentionally committed a sin which was forbidden. Not to do ihsan with your parents was something that he had unintentionally done. And now he, even after realizing that this is a sin that he has done, he cannot seek forgiveness from them because they are not alive anymore. So the best thing to do is to start putting in the weight on the right side in terms of the good deeds, so that the weight of the scale of the justice is more tilted towards the good side, towards the right side, towards the good deed side, so that he is able to balance the greatest injustice that he had committed unknowingly. And how to balance the scale of justice? It all depends what type of sin you're talking about. So for instance, in this particular case, you're talking about a sin related to Haqukul Ibad. Haqukul Ibad are those rights that different relationships and different people have on you. So you have committed a mistake, a sin which pertain to your parents, for instance. Now, in order to compensate for those sins, the first and foremost thing to do is to seek forgiveness from that person and to amend our behavior. But if, God forbid, if they are not alive, you start doing those good deeds which pertains to Haqukul Ibad. So for instance, doing namaz or salat or fasting will not help you, because these deeds are related to Haqukul Allah, related to God Almighty. You need to do deeds related to relationships, related to humans, related to social. So for instance, doing sadaqah or khairat or charity or donations, or your behavior with other relationships, with other individuals. Start doing good deeds on those areas related to, and it all depends on your intention. You would know what would be the greatest impact. So for instance, if you are a very rich person, if you even if you start donating only a percentage, a small percentage of your income, it might be huge in the eyes of those receiving it, but from your perspective it is not that big a donation. So it all depends on your intention, how best you want to balance the scale, which has to be equitable based on your condition, your situation. What best can you do? Can you do good deeds in terms of your relationships? Can you give out more sadqa, more charity, more donations? Or you would like to inform as many people as possible about this aspect, that doing ihsan with your parents is enjoined on us, and not to do ihsan with parents is considered as haram. It's aligned with doing shirk with God Almighty, which is the biggest crime as per Deen Islam.